I was wrong. I was wrong about LA Knight. In this video, I'm going to tell you what I was wrong about, when I think I went wrong, how I thought I went wrong, and what made me think that I was actually wrong. So LA Knight is a guy that took WWE and wrestling fans by storm in 2023. It was one of the most organic and surreal takeovers that I've seen in recent memory. And it really started a few years back, because even as Eli Drake in the NWA, as well as TNA Wrestling, even before he signed with WWE, he was known as a really, really good talker, a guy that had a ton of charisma, and a guy that had a lot of potential. But he was in smaller promotions, and he was kind of overlooked, and it was like a what if he ever went to WWE, what would be of his career? Well, we got to see that. We are seeing that now. And so when he was in NXT and he did the program with Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase over the $1 Million Championship during the pandemic, that was one of my favorite storylines of all time. I absolutely love that storyline. And so fast forward, when he's called up to the main roster and renamed Max Dupree, well, that gimmick sucked. I knew it sucked. You knew it sucked. He knew it sucked. The fans knew it sucked. It sucked. And he's still a little bitter about it to this day, and rightfully so, but that was a Vince McMahon call. And so when Vince McMahon was put out of power and he went back to being LA Knight, well, a lot of people felt like Triple H saved this guy's career, right? Because under Triple H, he was LA Knight in NXT, and he did a lot of good things in NXT, both as a babyface and as a heel. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The guy can talk. And his in-ring psychology is pretty impressive. And so when we go into 2023, we start to feel like this momentum, right? We're feeling this momentum late in 2022. 2023 comes around January of that year at the Royal Rumble. He works with Bray Wyatt, the late great Bray Wyatt. And they do the Mountain Dew Lights Out match, right? And that match sucked. It did. The lead up to that match sucked. And we have to be honest in regards to Bray Wyatt, in the sense of like when he was doing the Fiend gimmick and his later stages of his programs, a lot of people felt like when you worked with Bray, if you did not go over, it would hurt your momentum. It would hurt your career. And I think in LA Knight's case, everyone thought that was going to be the same thing. But it was different because the fans still wanted to see LA Knight. They just didn't want to see him as a heel anymore. And so they pushed. And so when he missed out on being on the WrestleMania 39 card, that to me was really when the babyface run kicked off. And he was doing really good work. And WWE officials noticed, okay, every time we put this guy on television, whether it be to do a promo, to do a match, whether it's a backstage interview, whether it's a backstage interview that airs on social media, this guy gets a pop. He gets a reaction like not a lot of people on the main roster, and we're not really doing anything with him. Hey, here's a good idea. Maybe we should do something with him, right? And so they do. And so it's like, okay, LA Knight. And I still, it stands out in my memory of coming out of that show, it being like, they're going to do something with him in the near future, right? And so they did. And so they put him in a feud with The Miz. They turned him babyface. They started pushing him more strongly. He was on television every single week. He was either doing promos or he was doing squash matches. And it's like, okay, finally, WWE is getting behind this guy. Finally. They even paired him for a PLE with John Cena, and they did a tag team match. It's like, oh, okay. And I still remember this in the fall of 2023. I was like, okay, this is good. This is good. Clearly, LA Knight's not going to beat Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Championship. Clearly, he's not going to beat like a Gunther for the IC title. Let's put the United States title on him. Or an idea that I pitched at the time, which was have him win the Royal Rumble in 2024, and then you go and you challenge Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight title. Boom, you do a title change. Seth has been a great champion. He's been a great workhorse. But we put the title on a new guy. We give Seth a reward, right? Maybe a WrestleMania main event. This is all before Rock. This is all before CM Punk. And instead of doing any of that, despite the fact that they didn't even have plans to do Rock, come back, or CM Punk come back, they booked him with Roman Reigns as Saudi Arabia PLE, and they beat him. And they beat him, and I felt like his momentum fell off a cliff. And I've noticed my interest from my loyal fan base regarding LA Knight videos, they dropped off dramatically after that. And so I came out and I said, I think the LA Knight movement is over with. I think he is done. I think they made a horrific mistake by having him be fed to Roman Reigns for no good reason. And I think it's over for him. I don't think he's going to reach the same level, because I think the fans, they fell out of love with him, and their confidence in him fell apart. And I was wrong. So we have January come along. He works a fatal 4-way match for the Universal Championship. He doesn't win that, but that is what that is. It was very interesting, but they kept having him win at house shows and win on TV. He then worked the Elimination Chamber. Drew McIntyre won it. But what happened? They had Logan Paul cost him they had AJ Styles feud with him. They started that feud really by costing LA Knight the match, right? They had AJ lay out with a steel chair. Then at WrestleMania, what did they do? They have him go over AJ Styles. Following that, he wins a number one contendership qualifying match for Backlash France. That was eventually won by AJ Styles in a very, very competitive match. And AJ obviously went on to lose to Cody Rhodes at Backlash France. So what do they do following that? They keep LA Knight on TV. They keep him on TV. And then they have him go and they do a squash match where LA Knight went over Angel on the May 3rd episode of SmackDown. So, and the fans, they've also rallied behind LA Knight. They've done a really good job at rebuilding this guy. He is in big matches, but while he's not necessarily winning, he's also not getting pinned. So he is keeping his momentum. He is keeping his sympathy. He is keeping what made him special with the fans. And the great things about LA Knight is he can talk like no one else. And so you have a guy who can talk like no one else. You also keep him winning on television. I was looking at his cage match rating, and as the recording of this video, he's 22-6 in 2024. Like, that's a phenomenal, phenomenal record. Now, keep in mind, a lot of those are padded because of house shows, but hey, it is what it is. More importantly, he's been going over Solo Sikoa on house show loops, and he's been pushed as a prominent star on television. And I understand Solo had that long losing streak, but I digress. Like, we're still at least getting LA Knight. But yeah, that's what I was wrong about. I wrote LA Knight off way too quickly.